My name is Nico Lagan, and I'm too conservative for the conservatives. My co-host, Rob Ambrose, not woke enough for the liberal. We are the political orphans. Make sure to like this video, share this video, but as always, we want to hear from you, so make sure to drop us a comment below. Top stories of the day. First, you won't believe what happened yesterday at Concordia University in Montreal. Finally, Pierre Poilievre addresses Tamara Lich and Chris Barber. And finally, an Indian man avoids immigration consequences after spying on women in a bathrooms where he lived. Get your comments ready because the show starts now. What's going on, man?
What's happening, brother? Not too surprising to hear that, but yeah.
That Indian perverts are avoiding deportation because it could... Indian Tom... How do they call them? Tom... Peeper Tom? Peep Tom? What's the expression?
Toms,
you
yes.
know, you've
Peeping
been
Tom.
called that before. Peeping Tom. Peeping Toms.
Tom the Peeper.
Tom the Peeper. Well, it's Taj Mahal the Peeper. The Peeper.
Yes.
But
Dan, what's happening, brother? And Pam, good to see you.
what's going on? What's going on? We should penetrate the subjects right off the bat. Yes.
Yeah.
You know what?
We're gonna penetrate them.
We go penetrate them. Let's start with an easy one. We talk about Bill C2 all the time, right? We talk about Bill C2, C8, C9, and C63 all the time.
Yep.
There's a bit of an update regarding Bill C2. It seems that yesterday it was announced in the House of Commons that they will be retabling to take it back because they've had too many complaints about how it attacks people's privacies. So the Epoch Time reports that Liberals sets to reintroduce revised border bill in response to privacy concerns. And this is the bill, if you remember, we did a deep dive with John Carpe. So if you haven't seen it...
Was that the first one we did?
Yeah, Bill C2 was about the Strong Border Act. Remember, that's the name that they gave them. It's in that bill where you can't have cash transaction above 10 grand.
Sure.
It's in that bill where the government can actually install spyware on your electronics to spy on you, remove it, and not let you know. There's the same bill that Canada Post could open your mail without a warrant. Remember that? Same bill where CBSA could show up to your house because you're exporting T-shirts to the US and they want to inspect you. So I can go on and on that bill, but that's the bill we're talking about. So it seems that they've received too much backlash and they will reintroduce the bill. But there was a part here that so Tory MP Michelle Rampol Garner saying that the bill combined with the government's online harm legislation, which would be Bill C63 that we're always talking about, would allow the government to target whatever it deems to be spreading hateful content. It's absolutely true, but this is the part. I guarantee you this is why they're going to have to reintroduce the bill, because it says that more than 300 civil society organizations called on Ottawa to withdraw the bill, saying it endangered liberties, Canadians' privacy, and refugee and migrant right. Well, fuck the last part. I don't give a fuck about that part. But the first part where it says that it endangers our liberties and Canadians' privacy, 100% right. So it seems that us talking about it, civil organization talking about it, is actually doing something. So who knows what's going to happen with the bill? Who knows what it's going to look like when they retable it? I can guarantee you that we will do another deep dive and I will fucking compare both of them together, although it's 140 page and it's going to suck to do, but
that's what we're here for.
Yeah, but you know, that just shows that sometimes it works. Sometimes it works. And thank God this is not because Pierre Poilievre talked about it. Let's be real here. That's why I made sure to show the bottom. It's probably because they received 300 different complaints from civil organizations. So that's probably like the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedom, lawyers out there that are constitutional lawyers. So pushing back seems to be working. Let's see what they come back with, though.
Yeah, that's right. People, yeah, like, I know there's this feeling like, government is not, never listen to the people at all. And I know it seems like that. It certainly seems like that to me sometimes, but once in a while they do. There is still a point to making your voice heard.
When the backlash is so strong that they don't have a choice, when it's everywhere, when
Yes.
everybody's talking about it, which is why I will never stop beating that drum, because I want it
It's
to
usually
be
when media
everywhere.
talks about it, right? And
Yeah,
that's why it's so important to have an independent media, because the mainstream media is clearly dropping the ball on this.
100%. Here's another quick story. I just thought this one was interesting because remember Carney's been telling us for months now, and even during the campaign, that he would remove a lot of the, he would, what are the terms that he used? He used terms along the lines of, we will reduce government spending. Along those lines, we will, by making, like, and he kind of said that he would lighten the amount of workers that we have at the government, because remember, it's something like 1 out of 4 Canadians work for the government, for some type of level of the government. It's between 1 and 4 and 1 in 3, and it's the only place that the public sector is the only place that grew over the past 10 years. Remember, like, I think like Trudeau added something like 200,000 federal workers to the force. Like, it's insane the amount of people that he added. Well, it turns out that Mark Carney's full of shit. Once again, he's just fucking lying like politicians do. It turns out that there's a new Ottawa's new defense agency CEO could earn up to $679,000 a year. That's just the guy running
Jesus.
the new Crown Corporation, and we all know how awesome the government is at running Crown corporations. Canada Post, Via Rail, just to name
So
two.
what is this? What is a defense
Uh,
investment agency? Like, what is its job? What is it supposed to do?
I will let you know, but thanks for
All right.
asking the question. But I
Okay.
wanted to say prior to that, just as is probably just a coincidence, Prime Minister Mark Carney's former associate is who will oversee Ottawa's new defense management agency. But that's probably just a coincidence that
Just
they're
a
buddies, right?
coincidence.
That they're
Yeah.
that they're friends. So Toronto banker Doug Guzman was appointed the CEO of Canada's new defense investment agency when it was launched on October 2nd. Never fucking heard about it before. So I need to dig further, it seems like. But basically, what they will work within the Public Service and Procurement Canada. Just so you know, I used to deal with that fucking painful department. All they do is they will take all the needs and wants of every single department at the federal government, and they will put requests for proposals out there. So they're literally, departments send them what they need, what type of products they need, what type of equipment they need, what type of services that they need, and those people with when they have the power, pouvoir d'achat in French, we say it's the power of purchasing power, I guess, when you put everything together, because
Yep.
they
Yep.
see every single request, they can put some together and get better deals. Circle story. Basically, it just means that one department's responsible for choosing who's going to get federal money. But the whole point is supposedly is to speed up defense purchases for the Canadian Armed Forces and the Canadian Coast Guard by eliminating redundancy and red tape. So introducing
Yes, of
a
course.
new government crown corporation is somehow going to eliminate redundancy and red tape and make things more efficient.
Because adding redundancy and red tape is a great way to reduce redundancy and red tape. Adding bureaucracy to take care of the bureaucracy.
Makes
And then
sense,
you'll
right?
Yeah, and then you'll need a new bureaucracy to take care of that one, and on and on and on.
But listen to
Never
this
ends.
one though. You want to see this one? The highest paid Crown Corporation CEO will be paid, and that's Guzman, will be paid between $573,000 and $674,000 for the 25-26 fiscal year, with an added maximum bonus of 33%. So that motherfucker could make literally 900 grand. If he's at 674,000, add 33% on top of that, the guy's making like 900 grand a year to run a fucking crown corporation. But he's a friend of Mark Carney, so I guess it's okay, right?
Is he actually?
Yeah, that's what I said at the beginning. They used to work together. They're friends.
Oh,
they're buddies.
For fuck's sake.
Sorry. They're former associates. They're not friends.
Yes.
But they used to work together.
This is just classic corruption. This isn't even interesting. This is just basic old corruption. Like at least Mark, man, at least add some pizzazz to it, to put a spin on it or something. This is
the part right here. Guzman most recently served as deputy chair of the Royal Bank of Canada and has held leadership roles at Goldman Sachs, where Carney also worked. So they worked together at Goldman Sachs. But that's just a coincidence, man. Stop seeing conspiracies here. It's just a
Prime Minister PMO said Guzman's expertise in capital allocation, project excellent execution, and large financial projects will be instrumental in accelerating procurement. Yeah, blah blah blah. Basically, yeah, he's one of the boys. He's in the club.
Yep, and remember, right? Remember that Mark Carney said that he would take our spending, or military spending, or NATO spending from 2% to 5%. So that dude is going to have a massive budget, literally 5% of GDP by 2035. So the new agency builds on Ottawa's commitment to increase defense spending to 2% of GDP by the end of this fiscal year and to 5% of GDP by 2035. So that dude is gonna have a massive fucking budget. And it's probably just a coincidence that shit, why am I drawing a blank? The company that Mark Carney owns like 7 million deferred shares in what the fuck's the name of the company he used to work for? Why am I drawing a blank right now?
Brookfield?
Thank you. Brookfield, just so you know, owns companies that develop drones meant for the military. So it's probably just a coincidence that he put one of his buddies there to make sure that Brookfield gets a bit of that 2% to 5% of GDP money, because being able to go after prefab houses is not enough. They need to be able to get some of that juicy military spending too.
Well, I mean, that's why that's why the conflict of interest stuff is so important. That's why the financial disclosures were so important. But
it's not like he had 103 conflict of interest or anything, so don't worry about it. What the fuck you're talking about, bro? Stop being a conspiracy theorist. Yeah. There's nothing to see here. Everything is normal. The fact that it's one of his buddies, it's not because they used to fuck on weekends that they actually dated. That's basically what I'm seeing here. It's not because they work together that they're actually friends, right?
Yeah, it's of course.
Please.
Yeah, I mean, more of the same. Carney is kind of a certainly no hopey changey stuff. Nothing. Just pretty classic, pretty typical political corruption, as always. Giving your buddies, plum jobs, creating plum jobs to give to your buddies. $650K a year to
plus 33%. Don't 33%
of what?
Of his salary. It's bonus. That's what I said. So
Jesus.
He has a possibility of 600 and let's call it 675,000.
200 and some K
times one. No, it's he's gonna make about $100,000, like $900,000. So you're looking at, obviously he's gonna get the maximum amount that he can get, which is just under $675,000 a year. Plus, he's going to get his 33% bonuses every single year as a fucking government worker. Who the fuck does he have to prove himself to? That could bring a total of $897,000, give or take a few dollars.
Yeah.
So he invented a new crown corporation in order to give his buddy a cushy job. And in return, what is he supposed to do? Give as many contracts as possible to Brookfield.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sounds about right? Right?
Yeah. I mean, that's about it. There's nothing else you can say about it. What do we got next?
Well, you're gonna like this one. You're gonna like this one. This one was sent to me by a guy I started working with. I said yesterday, right, that I found somebody that works with a couple of massive content creators. I got introduced to him, and now he sends me shit all day. He sends me stuff. All he does is he does research, and he sends me, like, over the past 2 days, I think he sent me 20 articles. Hey, have you heard about that? He doesn't even introduce it. He's like, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. He's like, I found that. So I'm like, oh, I like that. And this is one that he sent me today.
Just before we get here, I just want to take this time for instance. After all this, Rob is still liberal. Yeah, what we're talking about here, though, is you're talking about the Liberal Party corruption. I'm not a Liberal Party member. I didn't vote Liberal. I'm talking about classical liberal. Those are my values. That really has nothing to do with the modern political liberal movement, and it certainly has nothing to do with Mark Carney or the Liberal Party.
Just like I'm a conservative, but I'm a small C conservative. I'm not a big C Pierre Poilievre party conservative.
I identify with the Conservative Party, yeah.
No, I identify as a real conservative, not a liberal in blue.
Yes. Wise guy, what's up, brother? Yes, you are late. All right,
what the fuck, man?
Yeah, I know.
What the fuck?
Come on, man.
What the fuck? Here's a good one. This one you're gonna like. Indian man avoids immigration consequences after spying on women using bathroom at his Ontario home. So we have a former international student from India who used to spy on his female housemates through a peephole as they used the bathroom. He's been sentenced to 5.5 months in jail, and not the 12 months that the judge was supposed to give him, because unfortunately, if he would have got 6 months and above, it would have made him inadmissible on grounds of serious criminality. So that Indian pervert couldn't have become Canadian. So the judge, should I say?
Jesus.
So the justice, where is the comment? There you go. This is a nice explanation here. An Ontario judge weighed the immigration consequences for a former international student who spied on his female housemates through a peephole as they used the bathroom and made video recordings of 4 of them in various stages of undressing over a period of 6 months. The Ontario court judge heard Aswin V. Sajivan, an Indian citizen here on a student visa, lived with 11 other people at a home in Barrie. The 20-year-old pled guilty to 4 counts of voyeurism, which the judge considered a mitigating factor in this case. And right here, the judge found that the fit and appropriate range of sentence for this offender on the fact of this case for the 4 offenses was 6 months to a year in custody, but his sentence was dropped to 5.5 because they just don't want to hurt his immigration possibilities. So we're literally, in some cases, we got Indian guys that want to sleep with 15-year-olds. Turns out that they're a cop, but you know what? It's okay, bro, because we want you here. We need them fucking Indian perverts in Canada.
Well, if you go to the top there, it says the cutoff is 6 months. If you have a sentence, if you commit a crime where you get 6 months, you're considered to be there's serious criminality, and you're
inadmissible on grounds of serious criminality. Anything with 6 months and above.
And this guy gets a 5.5 month sentence. Like, come the fuck on, man. And Sylvie says, interesting how the photo shows someone with blue eyes. Yeah, I mean, that's
I didn't even catch that.
That's a funny point, because the guy, the actual criminal here, did not have blue eyes. It reminds me of a poster I saw in Europe, and this is what the wokes do, right? Whenever they have to do advertising on this kind of stuff, and it was like the poster was like "Stop Sexual Harassment," and depicted in the photo was a dark-skinned man or a white woman sexually harassing a dark-skinned man, like cupping his ass while he was visibly uncomfortable. And it's just hilarious because in reality, that is not at all the complete inverse of what sexual harassment actually is. But, you know, under the woke rules, you cannot show those things because it's even though that's the actual reality on the ground, it's not, you know, politically correct. But back to this case, this is just ridiculous, man. This idea that you're lowering sentences to not affect the immigration status of perverts. We should be, frankly, if the crime only called for 3 months, they should be increasing it to 6 months so that we affect the immigration status of the perverts. I'm all for affecting immigration status of perverts. I think we should get as many perverts out of the country as we can. Now, if you were born here and you're a pervert, and of course we have a lot of them, there's nothing we can do other than put you in jail. We can't kick you out of the country. But if we can kick you out of the country because you weren't born here and you're here on a temporary visa, then we should be doing exactly that. This idea that we're cutting breaks for the perverts to stay in the country is so fucking absurd. I don't understand how we got here.
Well, you know, if you get 1 day in jail and you're a foreigner, get the fuck out of Canada.
Yeah, I'm all for that. I'm all for
1
that.
hour in jail. I don't care. Fuck you. Bye-bye. Yeah. There's no 5.5 months. If you committed a crime, get the fuck out of here. Next thing I wanted, can you look closer to the camera? Can you bring your eye closer to the camera? I just want to see if there's a match here.
Yeah, it was
me. That looks like
it was me. It was me.
It was you.
Sucker.
It was the blue-eyed.
I framed Apu Nahasani even pedal on.
Bro, I almost fucking spit my tea all over the place.
Dude, it's just crazy, man. Fucking get the perverts out. Get all the perverts out we can. We can't get rid of every pervert. Some are born here, right? But the ones that we can get rid of them. This should be absolute fucking common denominator policy. It was the picture, the criminal pictured. The only photo from the crime scene was this blue eyeball,
this blue-eyed Indian guy from somewhere in the east.
I put brown face on. There's no brown face for your eyeball though.
No, can't see that one.
No, it's crazy, man. This shouldn't be controversial. Right, get rid of the perverts that you can get rid of.
It should be controversial that we keep them here. People should be mad at this. Like, we're laughing at this because it's so stupid. It makes no sense. It's so dystopian that it makes no sense. So yesterday, Tamara Lynch and Chris Barber received 12 months of house arrest plus 6 months of curfew for protesting legally, not breaking any law. Fucking pervy Indian that's not even supposed to be fucking here gets 5.5 months so that he doesn't get deported. No, sorry, so that it doesn't affect his chances of becoming Canadian. Like,
these are the people. We should be. We don't want them. We should be bending over backwards to get rid of these people, not bending over backwards to keep them. What are they bringing to the table? It's just this, you know. Elon Musk said it, man. It's a mind virus. It is a fucking mind virus. It destroys any sense of normal morality, or it completely inverts where your priority should be. We give mercy to the guilty and we're harsh on the innocent, because, you know, being soft on crime is cruel to the innocent. It's cruel to the people who don't commit crimes.
Yeah, and you know, the other thing that pisses me off about this fucking case is that the name of the justice is Greg A. Brannigan, and normally when there's cases like that, I do create pictures for my Instagram, and I put the pictures of the justice. I want people to know their name and know what they look like. Could not find a picture of that jackass. And the guy's name is Aswin V. Sajijan. Could not find a picture of that guy either. But we all know that if that was a white guy, if that was indeed you doing that, your picture would be all over the place, and people, if they saw that you got a 5.5 month sentence when you should have got 6 to 12, everybody would be fucking outraged. But because you're not brown, it's a problem. But if you're an international student, you're a foreigner. You're not even a permanent resident here. You're a fucking foreigner that was here on an international visa for students.
Yeah.
He's a cook now. So he's probably a temporary foreign worker now because he's a cook. Because again, that's what we need. We need cooks that are fucking perverts from India. Because that is the type of immigration that we need.
That's right. Guys, we really need more pervert cooks from India or for the GDP, right? Whatever the latest argument is, the GDP or the birth rate or whatever the fuck. We just don't have enough pervert cooks, Indian pervert cooks. We need more cooks, more perverts, more Indians. Trevor Benson says,
that would make for a great that would make for a great t-shirt.
What?
We need more Indian pervert cooks.
Yeah.
That's what we need. That's what how do we fix Canada? More Indian pervert cooks.
What do we want? More Indian pervert cooks. When do we want it?
That's it.
Now.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
5.5 months from now. That's when we want them.
That's right. Trevor says, what do you call it? A Katocracy? I think you're thinking of a kakistocracy. Spelled, I don't know how you pronounce it. Kakisto. It basically means a society ruled by the biggest morons in society, the biggest idiots. A society run by the idiots for the idiots.
Idiocracy was a pretty good representation of that theory you're talking about.
Yes. So here's the official definition of a kakistocracy. It's a government run by the least suitable or competent and least competent citizens of that state. Yeah. I mean, I think we're in there. We're definitely in there. And then obviously Idiocracy was a great movie, but also, maybe it was also a bit of a foreshadowing.
Did you? I told you the Croc story about that movie, right? Did you know the story about that? So when they made that movie, they wanted the people to wear shoes that were so idiotic, right?
Yeah.
And if you go back to that movie, they were wearing Crocs in the future. And when they recorded the movie, Croc was not popular. They literally took them in the movie as a joke, saying nobody in their right fucking minds are ever gonna wear Crocs.
And the smooth-brained idiots were like, "Wow, I love those shoes."
But the worst part is that because again, it can take a couple of years, right? By the time you record a movie and you release it, by the time they released the movie, Crocs had gone viral. Everybody was buying them. But people did not realize that at the beginning, when they actually recorded the movie, they were making fun of Crocs, and the reason they use those shoes, they're so retarded that nobody is ever gonna wear those. And by the time the movie was released, everybody had a pair. I have a pair of Crocs.
They're comfortable. Not gonna lie. Yeah, but I don't know, man. Idiocracy, it's looking more and more. Yeah, those are brutal. And it's funny because it's actually, obviously it's a comedy, but there's some, if you look deeper, you can see, like, remember, what's that drink that they all drank, Brondo or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Remember Brondo? And it came out of water fountains. And if you even think about, like, the logistics required to keep a water fountain stocked with Brondo, like there is some intelligence in the society, but they're all behind the scenes. You can imagine they're probably living in their gated communities, the few smart people that are, keeping the society running, keeping the fountain stocked with Brondo, while the idiots continue, like, living their idiot lives. That's kind of like where we're at now. It is
Brondo, BRAWNDO.
Yeah,
the
Brondo.
Thirst Mutilator.
Yes, actually, I might watch that movie again. Maybe.
Yeah, I've only watched it once, but that movie to me reminds me of the type of humor of George Carlin. Yeah, it sounds idiotic when he says it, but how many times have you watched a special from George Carlin and you're like, what? what the fuck did you just say? You start to realize that he's bang on. He's just using comedy in order to spread a very, very intelligent message. But that was the role of a jester, right? Back in history, kings would have jesters, and the only people that were allowed to make fun of the king were the jesters. The jester's job was to make fun of the king, and that's what comedy is. You always have to have comedians that have no censorship. You want them to be able to talk about whatever they want. Look at a guy like Dave Chappelle. If Dave Chappelle wouldn't be Dave Chappelle if it wasn't for George Carlin. And Dave Chappelle, is, as much as it sounds idiotic, some of this, man, the Chappelle show,
that was brilliant. That was so funny.
The black. Do you remember the black supremacist?
Oh yeah, the Clayton Biggs.
The black guy's
the blind white supremacist.
And I can't.
He was a Ku Klux Klan member, but he didn't know he was black because he's been blind his whole life.
And he at the end, I can't repeat what they said, but they basically said that when he learned that he was black, he divorced his white wife for being a lover.
And we're lover. That's too.
The one with Tom Brady. Did you see the one with Tom Brady where he plays a gangster? He keeps on killing people, slapping hoes.
Yeah, because it gets him to drink like PCP and angel dust or smoke
what
PCP.
Is it?
Hey, Joe Rogan. Tyrone Biggums.
Hey, Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I like rocks. I like rocks.
But that show's brilliant. That show is absolutely brilliant. Because if you look past what he's actually saying, he was bang on. I'm a fan of Dave Chappelle. I don't agree with a lot of the things that he thinks, but I love his comedy. Absolutely love that guy.
Oh, I was so ahead of its time. So ahead of its time.
Oh yeah. Do you know that he refused? I think it was 50 million.
Like 50 million, and that was back like 10 or 15 years ago when 50 million was.
No, more like 20 years ago. It was at the beginning of the 2000s, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I rewatched it, a few of the videos, and they're squared. They're not even recorded landscape. They're square in the screen, remember? Oh yeah, that's how old they are, man.
Old school.
Yeah, man.
Trevor says Carlin did a speaking at Congress way back in the day, and he know I didn't know that. I didn't know George Carlin was at Congress, but he's that kind of same type of comedian, right? Like makes a joke, makes you laugh, but underneath the joke, there's real commentary. He's talking about something very real.
I would not put George Carlin and Dave Chappelle in the same. Like George Carlin is like at the top.
Well,
Dave Chappelle is a derived. He was able to do his comedy because he was inspired by guys like George Carlin. But I have not seen anybody close to the genius, especially politically and culturally, like what that guy brought up. He was just a genius. He just chose comedy, but that guy could have been anything he wanted. He was just a very fucking smart guy. Yep. Very smart guy.
Agreed.
Do you want to take some? Is there some comments in there?
Oh, yeah, we'll take.
That is different, though. That's a different joke. Gay.
I assume he's talking about your Crocs. Gay. Brian Benware says, "You heard the liberals in the House. They want bail to make crime to prove there is crime to take your guns and you're done." Yeah, I mean, sure, there's some of that going on. I think it's more than that, though. I think it's just so much of what drives a political left right now is a woke ideology, and you can call it Marxism. You can whatever it is. It's one of those things that it's kind of hard to perfectly articulate, but we all know it when we see it. We all know what we're talking about, and that has really been the main driver of the left. And as someone who is, traditionally has been a liberal, I see it as I see the left as far more dangerous than anything on the right right now. Mm-hmm. And I think it's up. Frankly, it's any common sense liberal out there should be kind of doing what I'm doing, screaming at the top of their lungs about the harms, because the right obviously recognizes the dangers, but it's not gonna. Of course, the right's gonna criticize the left, and the left criticize the right. That's why it needs to be people from within the left. If we're ever gonna hope to make any real change or headway, and I don't have much hope, to be honest. I think the left is more or less cooked. No, I think long term, there's always cycles. We always go back and forth. I think the left will essentially collapse, and out of the ashes of that, perhaps we might get back to some sort of more classical liberalism. But it's going to be some dark days until then.
Agreed.
Wise guy says, in the end, I think when people really have had enough, they will take justice into their own hands. That's happening in the UK now. People even saying migrant hotels on fire. Sure. And I mean, obviously you can't condone setting hotels on fire, but you can kind of try to understand where that anger is coming from, for sure. And I think that's, it's funny how, remember a couple of years back during like the George Floyd protests, it was rioting is the what was they say, the silent voice, or the voice of the unheard. That's the voice. That's what rioting is, the voice of the unheard. Something tells me they're not going to say that when the riots are anti-migrant riots. You know what I mean? When it's anti-immigration riots, something tells me they're not going to say, "Oh, the riots." That's the voice of the unheard right there. No, they'll say that's a far-right Nazi and he needs to go to jail for 5 years. Now, again, lighting a hotel on fire, that is a criminal of behavior, regardless of why you did it, and anyone caught doing it should be held to account under the law. But I think our leaders really need to start to think about where this anger is coming from, because you're not just going to be able to jail your way out of this, because there's a lot of people who do not like what's happening, and the UK is sort of ground zero for it. For several reasons. They're obviously closer to the Middle Eastern countries from where most of the problematic migrants are coming from, and so they're just getting a lot of them. But their policies are terrible. The police have gone absolutely Orwellian. They're out there arresting people for thought crimes and wrong think, and wrong tweet and bad post and whatever else, Orwellian term you want to come up with. But the rest, I think whatever happens to the UK is how the rest of the West is going to go. And that's why the UK is so important right now.
That's why I'm always going to be talking about Bill C2, C8, C9, and C63. I'm going to be talking about what's going on with the BC ostrich farm. This is why I talk about the gun grab. They're all connected. They're all connected. And same thing, I'm going to talk every single time it makes sense. I'm going to talk about digital IDs, because that's the end line. I don't think we can go any further.
Digital ID is an interesting topic, because it's one of those things. I didn't really oppose it too much, because from when I first came out, I'm like, yeah, IDs. We're in a digital age. Digital IDs make sense. We already have IDs. But the more I hear about it, the more I'm getting pretty uncomfortable with the idea.
The thing is I could be sold to the idea if I trusted my government, if I knew that they had my best interests at heart. Why would you ever need a piece of plastic to carry in your pocket? I've lost my wallet before. I've lost you can lose your keys, you can lose your cards. It happens.
Yep.
But I don't trust the government. I don't want all of my stuff to be, not only that, but forget the ID for a second. What it means is that all of your documents, everything that you are as per the government, will be available online, because it will need to be accessible from anywhere. That means that you're taking it from a closed network that is behind protection, that has no opening to the internet, and now you're opening up those routers, those firewalls to the world. How many times have the government got hacked? How many times have bank got hacked? How many times has Google got hacked? They all get hacked. It's just a matter of time. It's not if, it's when. Now you're telling me that not only can they steal my social security number, they're going to be able to steal all the documentation that the government has for me under that digital ID. When my if the biometrics get attached to that, that means they also have access to that. Imagine that your banking is also attached to that. So that means that hackers now can have access to every single aspect of your life on a silver platter. So not only does the government does not know how to fucking secure their own servers, and I'm telling you from experience, they're the fucking worse at this. I'm telling you, I dealt with those entities. They fucking suck at protecting themselves. They are not recognized to be any good at it. This is a good reason why they're trying to pass Bill C-8, right? The Cyber Attack Act. They're trying to securize. They're trying to put security protection on all of their equipment because they want to pass that ID, that digital ID. I'm telling you, this is why that bill's trying to be passed. But the problem with the ID is as soon as they start linking that to your biometrics, once that ID has your fingerprints, your eyes, your face, because obviously there's facial recognition softwares everywhere now. There's cameras everywhere. You're always looked at through your cell phones. And then they start implementing your banking information. They can debank you if they don't like you. I'm telling you, everything, in order to have digital IDs, you need Bill C2, C8, C9, and C63 to be in place in order to be able to censor people and debank them. That would give them the ultimate control that they all want. But the scariest part is that it's not going to be a Canadian thing. It's being pushed all across the West. It's going to be everywhere in the West, so you have no place to hide.
Yeah, no, it's. I don't think
no
it's
place
even
to hide.
Being Canadian led. I think we're following.
No. Oh no, we're not beating that at all.
No, yeah.
Oh yeah, Australia, the UK.
Yeah.
A lot of Western countries, like obviously Vietnam, even Vietnam, Thailand, they already have them. But all to say that this is not a country thing. This is going to be a worldwide phenomenon. So wherever you go, you're going to be followed. You can't, if that passes, that means you can't break free from it. That means you need to be part of the system or be 100% self-reliant. Those are your options.
Yeah. I mean, it's what's that? Bristles tube? God, I hope the alien comes. Yeah.
Oh, Jeebus. Bejeebus.
Honestly, I wouldn't even hate it if the machines just took over and put us in those fucking that warm red goo and like in the Matrix and fed us some nice world, like some fantasy world. I'll take it. I'll take the comfortable lie. I don't give a shit. Give me a sweet job and
what's your name? You're Cypher in the Matrix.
Yeah. Just give me the steak. Just give me the steak, man.
Yeah, I know it's not true.
I know the steak isn't real. I know the steak isn't real, but it's still delicious.
Man, as much as I like recording with you, this is totally you. At least you're honest. I gotta give that to you. You're an honest guy. I don't want the goo. Fuck that goo. But give
me the goo, man. Maybe we're in the goo. Maybe we're already in the goo. Like who? I mean,
that's possible.
If you want to, the deeper you dig into it, like who the fuck knows anything about anything? Just give me the fucking happy. Give me the comfortable lie, man. I don't give a shit. I'll take it. Give me that steak. Give me that steak, that delicious steak, and a couple bitches here and here, and I'll be happy.
That sounds about right. Sounds about right for you. I'm not surprised. I am not surprised. We have very different heroes. I want to believe I would be like Neo. You would be Cypher. At least you're honest, bro.
Well, I'd be like Neo if I could be like Neo. If I could have like all the stuff that he's got, that'd be cool. But if I'm just Cypher, give me the steak, man. What do you say? Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah. I don't agree with you, but it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like we're actually having a serious conversation. I don't think we can.
Do we ever?
No.
We try. We look like it until we really push a subject.
Yes. Mrs. Brandy Heskin. Also, I think this might be your first time commenting. Welcome. Strategy is literally being played out in real time as Carney, especially the mass immigration piece. Yeah, we've talked about this show a lot. Like, it's just really weird to me how around 2020, every single Western nation in the world all arrived at this same policy, open borders immigration. And if you look at a chart of immigration numbers across the West, so that we're talking Australia, New Zealand, UK, France, Britain, Germany, the rest of Europe, Canada, even the US, every single country had a massive spike in immigration in 2020. That continued on up to and including today. So it wasn't just, to make up for lost time in COVID, because COVID only had 1 year. It was only 2019. That's what you'll see. the other thing you'll notice is, even going back to 2010, immigration has gone up and up all across the West. So the trend was there. Then there's a small bump down in 2019 because of COVID, and then a massive jump. And to try to piece together a narrative, what it seems like is, they're like, okay, well, immigration's already trending up. We had this one down year, so let's use that as an excuse to jam through as many as we can. And the thing is it happened all across the West all at the same time, and no one ever talked about it. No elections were run on this. Nobody agreed to this. Look, if you had an election and parties ran on, yes, open borders immigration, we're going to accept any single asylum claim, regardless of validity, and just let in basically whoever wants to come, and also give all kinds of people, give them all, pretty generous benefits packages, which will lure even more over. And that party then won the election. It is what it is. Fair play. Nothing you can say about it. That's what society wants. But that's not what happened.
No.
They didn't ask anyone. They didn't talk about it. They just did it. And then when people started to notice and say, I don't know if I like this, they were canceled. They were silenced. They were arrested in the UK, shamed, called racist, bigots, far right, what have you. It's not right. And I've repeatedly said I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but when I look at this, there's something going on, and it's worth asking the question.
So we have less than 10 minutes to go. So, because I got to leave just before 9.
Oh, that's right.
But I wanted to show this because I made the calculations. So this is a post I posted a few days ago, just saying the Great Replacement Theory is real. In 2015, Canada's population was 35.85 million. Today, it's 41.7 million. That's a 16% increase in 10 years. All of that growth came from direct immigration and birth to immigrant parents, kids from immigrants. The Canadian-born birth to non-immigrant parents actually shrank by 1.5%. Currently, 32% of people living in Canada weren't born here, so that's 13.2 million people. If this trend continues by 2035, 50% of people living in Canada will not have been born here or born from immigrant parents. So you're not crazy. Canada is not what it used to be 10 years ago, and it's only going to get worse. 50%, bro. Those are my calculations. I spent hours going through the numbers, but basically by 2035, half of the people living in Canada will not have been born here or born from immigrant parents. So they won't be first generation or landed immigrants. 50%. So it's not when you move around. When I go to Montreal and I don't recognize Montreal from 5 years ago, it's not just you. Same thing in Toronto. Same thing in Ottawa. Same thing. Every city it seems that I go to, I look around and I'm like, what? This is not Canada at all.
Well, and people do notice this, and we all know we can't say.
But it's racist.
Of course they'll call you racist for speaking up about it. But there's nothing wrong with not liking fucking overnight demographic change. That's a completely reasonable thing, And if people who said, there are lots of people who would say, let's say someone made the statement like, we need more brown people, black and brown people to be represented in society. Nobody would say a thing about them, about that. But if you ever said, we need more white people, that's all of a sudden you're a terrible the room would go, oh, you know what I mean? Yep. And it's crazy. It's nonsense. We all understand. It's like every other culture is allowed to be proud of their own culture except for ours. We have to be ashamed of ours. And this garbage, it's utter bullshit.
Let's switch to what was supposed to be the main topic of the day, but goddamn it. I wanted to show this because remember Anastasia, she posted about this yesterday, and before we go ahead, if you're watching us right now, make sure to like, make sure to comment, make sure to restream the stream if you're on X. If you are on YouTube right now, like this video, comment on the video, subscribe, hit that little tiny bell. If you believe in Independent media, you believe in what Rob and I are trying to do here, civil discourse between the left and the right, consider becoming a member. It's $2.99 a month as part of the YouTube membership. If you don't want to give your money to YouTube, I get it. That's why they're buying me a coffee, and it's buymeacoffee.com/thepolyorphans. On that note, here's the main topic of the day. Yeah, go ahead, because I only have 6 minutes to go.
Okay, I was just gonna say, if you are new, then throw us a comment, because the show is heavily based on audience engagement. I'm seeing a lot of really good ones coming in, so we'll hit this topic quick, and then we'll do 5 minutes or so at the end of take some of those comments, because there's some really good ones.
So I just wanted to show what happened in Montreal yesterday.
A pro-Palestinian.
Oh wow!
You know what? Before October 7th, 2 years after Hamas killed over 1,000 Jewish individuals, Pro-Palestine shut down the campus of Concordia University downtown because of this. They canceled classes because they knew that there would be protests.
A pro-Palestinian protest watched closely by Montreal
Look
police.
at the amount of people.
The crowd outside of Concordia University's downtown campus.
For us, I think October 7th really is the marker of when the genocide started in Palestine. So that was really the main idea behind marching today.
The university canceled classes Tuesday ahead of the rally. Its president saying in a statement after a protest Monday led to 2 arrests, the threat of extreme disruption is simply too high to operate as usual.
No thought to stopping the protests. No, we have to shut classes down. That's so retarded.
And remember, Anastasia?
Yeah. She
has sent me an invitation to go at Concordia because I'm not far from there.
Oh, that's
unfortunately, I was covering the Tamara Litch and Chris Barber because, man, yes, but you're absolutely right. They're basically shutting down because she's Jewish, and a bunch of Jewish people went with her to just mark October 7th. They were pulled off by police. Police
so rather,
were kind of
rather than stop the violent protests, they're going to cancel classes.
Yeah.
And what's even fucking crazier is they did this ahead of time, right? So they knew that that protest would be especially heavy on October 7th. So they knew it. Like
look at that. Exactly what you're saying.
Take that to its logical conclusion. The reason they knew it is because they know that it's a murderous, violent protest or movement, and they knew they would go crazy on October 7th because they love the killing of the Jews. They love it.
Look at that. They're fighting.
How can Jewish students feel safe here?
Listen to this.
It's been that way for a long time for students who have any kind of Jewish identification on them.
A pro-Palestinian gathering at University of Toronto's Mississauga campus.
I used to live there.
Organized by the student union, it was advertised as
honor for our martyr,
a way to commemorate the lives lost in Gaza, they say. The organizers did not respond to comment about the name.
Imagine walking on campus and seeing a protest talking about honoring martyrs on that day. It's just abhorrent. It's impossible to take it any other way than blatant discrimination, hatred.
Back in Montreal, the crowd weaved its way from one campus to another.
Always with masks, huh?
At one point, an Israeli flag covered in red hand marks was set on fire. Another sign of the deep anger over this war. Sarah Levitt, CBC.
But even CBC is downplaying it. Absolutely downplaying it. But all to say, man, I want to know who those people are. If they are international students, send them back to wherever the fuck they came from. We do not need foreigners to come to Canada to protest a violent fucking act. We're talking about more than 1,000 people died and they're celebrating. Can you imagine if it was the other way around? If the Jews would have assassinated 1,000 Palestinian on a specific day and the Jews would be out celebrating their martyr.
Even people that support Israel, they're not celebrating the murder of Palestinians. They may see that as like an unfortunate
a casual of war,
a casualty of war, and find it distasteful. But they won't be celebrating the murder or the death of the Palestinians. Nope. Like this is just wild, man. And the fact that they knew October 7th, and we all know why October 7th was going to be so that they already know that these are garbage people, and they're still bending over backwards to accommodate the protests. Why not cancel the protests instead of canceling the fucking classes? What about the students? Forget the Jewish students clearly are going to feel very uncomfortable. What about the other people who just want to get the education that they were severely overcharged for? They're not even able to do that because everyone's hostage to these fucking morons and their retarded demands.
I don't understand. Like, I guarantee you that there's a vast majority. I looked at the numbers. Out of the 40,000 people that are at Concordia, more than 10,000 of them are international students. How many of those were part of that protest?
Man.
Kick them out. Kick them out. Kick them out. Fucking deport. I don't care. You're not the type of person I want in Canada. I don't want your peeping Tom. I don't want your pedophiles. I don't want your fucking perverts. I don't want the people that are going to come here to protest. If you're an international student, shut the fuck up and go to school. Go learn. That's why you're here. If you're not doing that, get the fuck out and go back to your fucking country.
Yeah,
that's it. I'm done.
Couldn't agree more. We're gonna end it here, though. I just want to take one quick comment here, actually two quick ones, because I really like.
I have to run. I have to run though. I have to run right now.
Okay, I'll all right, see you, brother. I'll take a couple comments and we'll close.
Just make sure that when you leave, you do end stream at the top. Because last time you didn't do it. You see it at the top.
Yeah, I got it.
And the stream was just going, and I'm
just going forever.
I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.
Peace. All right, see you, brother. All right, I'll take a couple of these comments, guys, before we put a pin in her. Wise guy says, we must not let them pull the racist card anymore. It is bullshit and always has been bullshit. Yeah, we got to stop this, man. And obviously, I'm speaking to the left, to my fellow liberals. We cannot have this environment where we can't speak. How are we ever supposed to get to the right immigration policy if we can't even discuss it without being called racist? And the people making those arguments, they know we're not being racist. They're doing it in bad faith. They're doing it to shut down the conversation. And agreed, we just cannot let them anymore. Alberta Nan says, if they were assimilating and adopting Canadian culture, that would change everything. Of course, absolutely it would. The woke idiots on the left, they want to make this about race. It's not about race at all. I could, I'll take all the brown people you want, as long as they're contributing to society, as long as they are happy to be here. You can be Muslim, sure, but you have to love the country. You have to want to be here. I don't want a Muslim or anyone who's coming here and hates the country and wants to change it. Leave your Sharia law, leave your female genital mutilation, leave your child brides, leave all that shit. Bring your food, bring your clothes, bring your culture and mix it with ours. But you have to, immigration is a contract between two people. It's an agreement. It's a bargain. Both sides have responsibilities. The newcomers, they have a responsibility to assimilate, to become part of the culture of their host country. The host country has a responsibility to make newcomers feel welcome and provide them with the same opportunities it provides everyone else. But when one of those sides doesn't live up to that bargain, and right now our immigration policy is causing the bargain to be ripped up. It is destroying the social contract. What you get is what we see everywhere we look. As Mrs. Brandy Heskin says, mass immigration will undoubtedly bring in division. We're already seeing it. Seems the government's playing out the divide and conquer technique to bring in the crazy censor policies we're seeing. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to see it not as all connected, right? Like this big push to get rid of hate speech, and what we can see it in the UK, it isn't actual hate speech that's getting cracked down on. It's regular criticism, legitimate criticism of government policies, of immigration policies. That's not hate, but the way that many of these bills are worded, you really got to pay attention to the wording. And if you're new to the show, we go on these deep dives in these bills. The new hate speech bill, I forget which one it is, C9, C2, I don't know. The wording on it defines hate as anything that evokes an emotion in someone else deeper than disdain. Like, what the fuck is that? How can that be a criminal standard? How can you prove, well, this was deeper than disdain? It wasn't even just disdain. It was deeper, and here's how we prove it. It's a nonsense theory. It's a nonsense concept. We don't need hate speech legislation. Crimes are already crimes. If someone commits a crime, they should be dealt with according to the law. They shouldn't get extra punishment because of what their perceived intention is. Let us a couple more comments, and then I'll close the show. I think we're going a little bit overboard, but we are, some really good comments coming in here. Pure Gosso says, when you're done school, go home. Yeah, that should be the standard. That should be, now, if you can go home and then apply to get a PR or do something. The fact of the matter is, immigration policy should not be charity. It shouldn't be designed to just open the doors of the third world. It should be done primarily to benefit the host country. It can be a benefit for both sides, for sure. It's a benefit to the immigrant coming in. It's a benefit to Canada, but it should absolutely be a benefit to us, or else why would we do it? And right now it's thought to be, it's like an obligation, a responsibility we have, even if we're bringing in, low quality, low skilled, low educated immigrants. And that's garbage. We need to do a complete rethink of what we think immigration should be in this country. But first and foremost, fundamentally, it should be done to benefit the country of Canada, period, full stop. And if it's not, why are we even doing it? What is the point of it? Abby says, don't understand how these demonstrations are allowed. I couldn't agree more. Also, I believe this is your first time commenting. Welcome. Appreciate it. Thanks for the comment. I'm assuming you're Jewish by your name. But yeah, I mean, I can't imagine being a Jewish Concordia student. Imagine how infuriating that would be. You paid whatever the fuck they're charging at Concordia these days to go to these classes, to go to these schools, and they're canceling your classes on October 7th because the scumbag pro-Pally crowd wants to put on an extra large celebration to celebrate the 1,000 of your fellow Jews that were murdered on October 7th. Rather than cancel the protest, they canceled the classes. And how does that make sense? Society has been taken hostage by these, frankly, garbage people, and we need to stop. Just stand up and say no more. Not going to do it anymore. Brian says, "Good night, guys. Great chat." Yeah, see you, brother. Rem 75. Don't worry about being called racist. Woke DEI. We're done with that. Yeah, this is the only way you can do it. Just not care anymore. It only has power over us if we care. Bristol Tube. That's how our flag will become a hate symbol. It's already happened in the UK, man. It is already happening. The St. George's Cross, that's getting called a hate symbol. Like, no one's using it as hate. The reason why people are brandishing it so much is because they're being told they can't. They're saying, no, you can't fly your own flag of your own nation. Meanwhile, they're going to light up City Hall for Pakistan Independence Day and India, put the flags of India and Palestine and the LGBTQ plus whatever the fuck. And it's like, okay, it'd be one thing if it's like no flags at all, but it's just not my flag. And that's what I was saying earlier. It's like every other culture, every other group of people is encouraged to celebrate their culture, and we're encouraged to celebrate it, and I have no problem with that. But don't then at the same time say, but you can't celebrate your culture. You have to be ashamed of who you are, because that's utter fucking bullshit. It is garbage. Bristles, my wife doesn't believe DEI is real. Yeah, I had this conversation with my stepfather the other day, right? The boomers are pretty radicalized. They're pretty lost to the woke bullshit. And he's a very decent man. He's a good person. He was like, wow, DEI is just, I think if he's like, it's just giving, people a less advantaged people or disadvantaged or vulnerable groups a leg up. And it's like, yeah, a leg up at expense of, like, your grandson is white, your grandkids are white. How can you, I know they didn't, they don't see it that way, but how can you support a policy that harms them, that makes it harder for them? Because, and, he made the argument like, if, because he could see it. He was like, I don't think that, less qualified, minorities should be promoted ahead of more qualified white people. I think if all things are equal, I don't have a problem with going to the minority. And even if we granted that, I don't think that's right either, but let's grant that for sake of argument. As I said, that's not actually what's happening. Many, many, many times it is a less qualified minority is being promoted. And there's this huge gap between what we say, what's actually happening, and what they say is happening. And we see that in so many issues today. And if you notice it, you're a racist, you're far right. That's why, even though I'm a liberal, I've been a liberal my entire life, I get called a far right bigot all the time, on social media, just because, among other things, I think immigration policies are garbage and women don't have penises. If you just say those two things, you're a far right Nazi, and it's insane how we got here. AV says this is chaos. It's not about freedom or righteousness. They hate Western civilization and its morals. It's the same in Europe. Instead of being thankful, they just try and promote evil. Yeah, so this is a good comment, and I think it brings up an interesting point. We need to understand what woke is, because woke, it's got several definitions. There's a lot of people who will say, oh, it's just being empathetic. It isn't any of that. Fundamentally, what woke is, it is a worldview that the far left has, that ranks every single person according to their superficial identity traits, their race, their ethnicity, their gender, their sex, maybe their religion. And then it ranks people according to these traits, and on some sort of hierarchy of oppression. And if you are higher on this chart, then it doesn't matter what the specifics of a certain case are. It doesn't matter your morals, it doesn't matter your character. You're going to be placed above anyone below you. And of course, white, we all know what this chart looks like. At the top, you're going to have trans, and then you're going to have Muslim immigrant, and then you're going to have a couple others. Then, in the middle, you probably have homosexuals, then women, and then white people, and then men, and then Christians. And the reason is fundamentally wokeism is about self-hatred. It's about hating anything to do with the West. It's about hating anything to do with where you came from, being ashamed of where you came from. And that is why, Islam is portrayed. How does queers from Palestine ever even become a thing, right? These people will be thrown off of buildings in Palestine. It's this weird thing where Israel is the only society that actually has progressive values in that whole part of the world, and yet the woke left will treat Israel like it's this evil empire, and lionize and sort of promote these actually sexist societies that are filled with actual rape culture, that are filled with actual deep-rooted misogyny. And I don't, in some ways it doesn't make any sense, but when you actually understand that, they just hate everything to do with the West and themselves, then it makes a little more sense. If Western civilization was associated with Islam and Christianity was from the Middle East, then they would hate Islam and they would promote and praise Christianity, because it isn't about the actual religions. It's about hating everything to do with the West. Bristles tube. I drifted right by saying still watch left. Yeah, there's that famous meme. I think Elon Musk has posted it quite a bit, where it's got, it says me, and he's some guy saying on the left, the center is over here and the right's over here. It's like me in 2000, and then me in 2005, and the left has moved, and it goes down 3 or 4 levels. He hasn't moved, but the left keeps going. Of course, as the left goes, it pulls the center with him, and now he finds himself on the right. I kind of feel the same way. I haven't changed. I haven't changed my values. I haven't changed my opinions. And frankly, we don't talk too much on the show about all of my positions, but I still hold more than enough positions to ever truly be considered the right. Like my positions on abortion, taxation, social safety net, healthcare, to name a few, would still put me pretty firmly on the left. The positions that put me on the right are basically my opposition to immigration policies, my opposition to radical gender ideology, and my opposition to DEI. But that's pretty much it. But again, that puts me, far on the right. Bristles too. They don't understand what they're doing is racism at its core. Yeah, by far the most racist group is the woke left, if you think of DEI, like I was explaining, this hierarchy of oppression, the only thing that matters is what someone's skin color is, what their ethnicity is, their gender, their sex, things that are superficial to them, right? Their character doesn't matter at all. Their morality doesn't matter at all. And it's almost an inverse of Martin Luther King, right? What he famously said, "I dream of a society where a man is judged by the content of his character, not the color of his skin." The woke left only judges people by the color of their skin or their gender or their sex, and not the content of their character. There's no way to spin it. DEI is just racism. You can't get rid of, you can't right the wrong. And I'll be the first to admit, yes, there were wrongs in the past. We used to have a genuinely racist society. It was built into, institutional racism. That was a thing. But that was dismantled, in the 60s with the Civil Rights Act. Attitudes, sure, there still are some racist people, but you can't legislate attitudes, and you shouldn't try. All you can do is get rid of overtly racist laws, like they did with the Civil Rights Act in the 60s. But now they're putting, and that's why all this DEI shit actually is illegal under all the laws that were put in place, during the Civil Rights era in the 60s. They just don't get enforced because there's this perception that it can't be racist if it's harming white people, which is, of course, nonsense. You cannot fight against, you can't stop discriminating against people by their race by discriminating against people by the race. You can't have good racism, bad racism. As long as it's the good racism, we're okay. The only morally correct position is there can be no racism. There can be no discrimination against people by the color, even white people. And that is, people will call me racist for saying that, and those people are idiots. So, you don't really give a shit. Brandy Heskin, any label will create division, political label, religious label, doesn't matter. As soon as you label yourself, you divide yourself from one group or another. Yeah, and the left loves labels, right? And that's why our gender identity is just so intoxicating to them, because now you can have labels upon labels and 72 genders, and now we've all heard the stupid, ridiculous ones are coming out with, the demisexuals, pansexuals. There's literally so many stupid ones, and I just see it as a symptom of a society in decay and decline. We're so spoiled and pampered and entitled that we don't have any real problems to worry about, so we create stupid ones to try to mimic a struggle. And I agree with you 100%. This whole labeling thing, it only came out in the last, 5 or 10 years, this idea that, like, if you don't see race, you're a racist, or the idea that wanting a post-racial society is itself racist. It's like, motherfucker, what are you talking about? I've been a liberal my whole life because I thought that was the goal. I thought the goal was a post-racial society where no one really cared about race. Sure, we see it because we're not blind, but no one gives a shit. And I almost feel like we had that sweet spot in the 90s, maybe the early 2000s. But fundamentally, my opposition to this identity politics of the left is when you focus so much on identity, and if you see everything through the prism of race, you are injecting race and racism and perpetuating that racism that you claim to be fighting against. So it's like the comment from Wise got up earlier. I think a lot of the left's obsessiveness about race is actually the biggest perpetuators of racism today. 15 years ago, no one gave a shit. Now everyone, is obsessed with race, or at least everyone on the left. Albert and the left is only inclusive if you agree with them. Disagree and they become wholly exclusive. Yeah, of course, right? That's the inclusivity that, and diversity. They're only talking about superficial diversity, right? Your skin color, your sex, the things you really have no control over. Ideological diversity or diversity of opinion or thought, that's highly frowned upon. And so much of the left is this idea that not only are you wrong if you disagree with me, but you're evil for it. You're morally wrong too, because everything that the left believes is, by definition, according to them, the morally correct position. Therefore, if you don't believe what they believe, then you are by definition morally wrong. And that's just such an arrogant and entitled worldview that I think has really done the left a disservice. It's taken the left down a really dark and nihilistic path. And then there are liberals like myself who refuse to go along with it. But and I actually think there's a whole lot more who think the way that I do, but don't know. They think that, they're like, well, I'm not going to be conservative, so I just have to go along with it. And you don't have to go along with it. You can occupy the space that I am, a common sense, anti-woke liberal who just continues to hold classical liberal beliefs, but just doesn't go along with a lot of this made up bullshit. Albert Nance says, Rob, all societies are racist. Well, yeah, I mean, frankly, fundamentally, the Western society, Western civilizations is by far the least racist society in the world today, right? And that's the kind of stuff that gets swept under the rug. We have to be ashamed of who we are, where we came from, and our ancestors, despite the fact that we created this extremely wealthy, prosperous society, very egalitarian. Slavery has existed as long as humans have. Western civilization is the only one that stamped it out, right? But we have to pretend like we're the evil ones. And I'm just sick of it. It's garbage. Bristle 2, I'm a boomer. We never judged anyone who grew up in the 70s and 80s. We were a bunch of dumb kids who learned to get along with each other. It was not an issue. Yeah, but the boomers have changed. Boomers have been pretty radicalized by, and I think the main reason why is they're the only demographic that still pretty much solely gets their news from mainstream media. I talk on the show a little bit about my parents. They're pretty classic or typical boomers. They're incredible people, like kind, loving, like genuinely good and decent people. But they just have a blind spot to a lot of the things going on with the woke left, because all their news is consumed by mainstream media. 10 or 15 years ago, the meme or the archetype was the Fox News stole my father, or my, the boomer, the 70 or 80-year-old man who was obsessed with Fox News and yelling at the TV and shaking his fist. And now it's the woke boomer. The boomers have been stolen by the woke. It's pretty crazy how this all happened in a pretty short amount of time. Bristles, boomers have been propaganda at the core. Critical thinking and common sense is dead. Yeah, I think it's because of what I just said. I think it's I think if you only consume your news, and remember that the boomers fundamentally have led a very charmed life, right? The system has worked for them, broadly speaking, for most of their lives. So they trust it, right? That's where a lot of it comes from. They trust the media. They trust government. They trust the institutions because, for the most part, they've been given reason to, right? They grew up in an extremely prosperous time. Most of them are quite prosperous. They've been able to become, at least on paper, many of them are millionaires because they bought homes 20 years ago, 30 years ago, right? The thing is, they're voting for a system that works for them. They don't realize that that system doesn't exist anymore. That system is broken down, and that's the approach I take at it. I have a lot of I don't harbor any like ill will. Like I said, my boomer parents are incredible people, and they are genuinely good and decent people, but they don't know that the world has changed. They are in a bubble, and so I understand where that mindset comes from, but it's still wrong. It's still not correct. It's like I said, the system that they grew up in, it worked for them, but the same one doesn't really work for us and the younger people in the same way. Wise Guy says, I don't know, Rob, I'm a boomer, and I know a lot of others who agree with my points of view. It's the boomers who only watch TV and don't know the internet. Yeah, I mean, for sure, right? Like, clearly, there's going to be a ton of exceptions to these. That anytime you make a broad generalization about an entire generation, yes, you're going to have a lot of exceptions, and that's all baked into everything that I say. I do think what I'm talking about, broadly speaking, is correct. You can see it up here in Canada, the voting record by age. It was like 18 to 25, and then 26 to 35, and then whatever. It's like 3 or 4 up to 60, and every single one voted conservative by little bits. It was maybe like 55 to 45 or something like that. But the reason the Liberals won is because the Boomers had an overwhelming vote for the Liberal Party. That's what put them over the edge. And again, it's because the system works for them in a way that it doesn't work for us. So yes, I know that there's a ton of Boomers that are not brainwashed. A lot of them are on the show. But I think as a broad generalization, to the extent that broad generalizations can be accurate, I think this is one I think it holds up. Brandy, do you think the Boomers vote Liberal because they've always been a Liberal, even though standards shifted substantially? Yeah, I baked into that is the older we get, the harder we are to change, and that's true of all of us, right? That's why they go after young people so hard, because young minds are moldable. Young people will believe whatever world that they grew up in. If society ended today, right, there was, I don't know, nuclear war or some serious virus or whatever, society collapses, government collapses, and we go back to some sort of Mad Max dystopian world, it would be an incredible shock to all of us who grew up in this world. And we would likely never get over it. But anyone born in that world, that would be perfectly normal to them. That would be completely fine. Young minds are moldable. And so the older we get, the harder it is to change our minds. You just start to think, everything, you have everything figured out. And I think there's a lot of that going on. I think there's a boiling frog dynamic going on. If you change slowly enough, then you don't even, and over a long enough period of time, even though you've had very significant change, you don't notice it, you don't feel it. Like the frog in, if no one's heard the analogy, if you put a frog in boiling water, it would jump out immediately because it's being boiled. If you put a frog in lukewarm water and slowly bring the water to a boil, he'll just boil to death because he won't notice it. Wise guy says, I think what you're describing may come to pass, Rob. I mean, it could. To be honest, I don't even know if I'd hate it that much. I think any man kind of has those fantasies of what would you do in a Mad Max dystopian world. And I honestly think it's probably, I don't think you need to be a prepper or anything. You don't need to build a concrete bunker, but I think you need to have a plan for what you would do. And this is actually a fun thing to talk about when you get baked with your friends is, what would you do during some sort of, societal collapse? I've actually got like a 4 or 5 point plan. First you have to factor out like 2 weeks out, which is obviously going to be the most tumultuous. That's when most people are going to die. And the people who will survive are the ones who can change their mindset so fast, to understand that things have changed and the old rules of civilization don't apply. And then, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months out, but that's a whole other rabbit hole. We'll talk about later. Bristles Tube. I was and am a liberal at heart, but I cannot support a party that aims to destroy the country. Yeah, so I remain a liberal. But like I said earlier in the show, because I get that all the time. Are you sure you're still liberal? Are you sure you're still liberal? Or you're one of us now, one of us. And that's not really correct. I'm certainly more open-minded than most liberals. But when I say I'm a liberal, I mean in values, right? Classical liberalism. I don't mean a political liberal. Like I don't support most of the political left right now. I did not vote for Carney or the Liberal Party. And frankly, as a liberal, I wanted them to get their asses kicked because I think the only way that the Liberal Party and the Democrat Party and the Labour in the UK and all of the left-leaning parties in the West, I think the only way that can save them is to just get absolutely destroyed in elections. And it would probably take more than one. Like, I don't even think America is out of the fire yet, even though they just got destroyed because people are still thinking, oh, well, Kamala wasn't left enough. But if they get destroyed again in the next one, that probably will, at some point, people will say, okay, this isn't working. Because here's the thing about woke, and I talk about this on the mashup that I jumped on a couple Saturdays ago. And anyone on the left knows what I'm talking about. It is going to, when it collapses, like I know on the right, people on the right think like, oh, like you'll never fight against this. This will be here forever. And first of all, I would say, I guarantee you the French peasants in the 1600s, even as recently as a year before the revolution, they thought that the monarchy would never collapse. Like, think of how ingrained that felt. And then it did. So things feel like they'll never change until they do, I guess is what I would say to that first. But on the other hand, thing with woke is when it collapses, and it will, it's going to go down really, really, really fast. And it's because nobody actually believes it, right? Even among the left, very few people believe in this shit. It's just virtue signaling. They think they have to go along with it. I think what you're seeing right now with the political left is by far the most accurate depiction of a real life example of the Emperor's New Clothes that I've ever seen. If you remember the Emperor's New Clothes, the story was, the Emperor was given this beautiful set of garments. And of course, and the catch was, if you were a bad person, you couldn't see it, right? But if you were a good person, you could see it. And it was the most beautiful robe ever. The king puts it on, and all his advisors are falling all over themselves. Wow, this is so beautiful. He's parading down the center of town, fully buck naked. Everyone in town is talking about how beautiful these gowns are. But no one actually thought that he was wearing clothes, right? They were just afraid that other people did, right? They knew they saw the Emperor naked, but they thought the guy on the left and the right, they thought they saw clothes. And so they all went along with it. And it took a child who was too young to know that they had to lie to say, but he's just naked. He's just not wearing anything. And in that moment, in that instant, the illusion dropped. The magic, the spell broke, right? Nothing actually changed. And you can imagine the Emperor would have felt very proud as he walked down. But as soon as the child said that, he would have realized he was naked, even though he knew it all along. And he would have been embarrassed and ashamed. And the lesson here is nothing actually changed. He was always naked. What changed was the mass delusion, where everyone saw him as naked. But once you knew that guy saw him as naked too, and that guy saw him as naked too, then you could say what you actually believe. And I think that's what we're happening. Right now, we're just waiting for the child to say, oh, but he's just naked, right? And when that happens, a solid chunk of even the left, 80% of the left, is going to be like, I never really believed that anyways. I never really thought women could have penises. I never really thought that men could give birth. I never really believed trans women were women. I never really thought that, open borders immigration was good. All of those things, it's going to change really fast. Amio Rosto says, do you see a scenario of a state against a state? You'll have to clarify that a little bit. Also, I think it's your first time commenting. Welcome to the show. Normally, I'm here with my co-host Nico. He's a Christian conservative. I am, of course, the anti-woke liberal. Together, we are political orphans. We're just trying to create a space here in this show of people who don't really fit into the left-right dichotomy, right? The labels don't really apply, and they're just trying to talk about the problems facing society without the labels. Just come from a common sense perspective. Now, we do still use them. I do still describe myself as a liberal because it holds enough that you can at least get where I'm going, and you'll understand a little bit of where I'm from. But broadly speaking, we do try to, the show is about creating space from people from all over the spectrum to have common sense discussions. So yeah, if you can clarify what you mean there, I'd be happy to answer it. Wise Guy says, the difference between you and the average liberal is that when you are given facts, you can change your mind, but woke libs just go into cognitive dissonance. Yeah, and it's tribalism, right? It's a very human thing. We are all a slave to different degrees. I am as well. I am also tribal. Like I found myself when Charlie Kirk was shot. Even then, like I obviously have evolved enough in my beliefs that I was never like anti Charlie Kirk or anything, but I still had a broadly negative opinion of him without even really looking at him, because I never really listened to his stuff too much. I just had, and that's just a leftover of my more liberal days when Charlie Kirk's just a right-wing activist, and therefore, he's I certainly didn't think he was racist or anything, but I didn't think too highly of him, and that was tribalism. And then when he was shot and all those videos of him come out, and you're like, holy fuck, this guy's actually just a decent guy. I don't necessarily agree with all of his positions. I don't think abortion is murder. But I also understand, fundamentally this just comes because I don't think life begins at conception. If I did, then of course I would be pro-life, right? If pro-life beliefs is directly downstream of a belief that life begins at conception. And I don't even think that's a crazy belief. I don't hold it, but I think it's a reasonable belief to hold. I think reasonable people can believe life begins at conception. And frankly, if you believe life begins at conception and you're not pro-life, I'll probably think you're a shitty person. So I don't think people who are pro-life, I don't have any beef with them at all. But so like I said, I don't necessarily agree with everything that Charlie Kirk says. But he was a good guy, and I was sort of, that was my own tribalistic tendencies. We all have them, right? Brandy, MSM in a nutshell, no mainstream media should ever be politically funded. How anyone could think that a politically funded media provider wouldn't be biased is what to do. Yeah, I'm definitely on board this train now. I think as a Canadian, I'm anyone of my age, right? I'm 42. Probably has a bit of a soft spot for the CBC growing up, right? A lot of the cartoons, the shows you watch, Hockey Night in Canada, but they've gotten away from that, and now they got into news, and the problem with the woke left, and the woke left has infiltrated all of the institutions of society, including media, including CBC, is that they don't actually know what their biases are. They don't know, like, there's nothing wrong with having biases. We all have them, but you have to know what they are. You have to be aware of them. The media believes that their positions are strictly neutral down the middle, just consensus beliefs, and that is not true on many issues. And so their own self-perception is warped. To that end, I don't see how we should have politically funded media. That just seems, unless they want to get out of news, but it just has so much, it leaves so much incentive for abuse. And even right now, most people on the left most people who are, say defund CBC or defund PBS or whatever, they're not on the left. They are on the right. And the left is okay with it because, they perceive that media is biased, but biased in their favor. But that can change, right? Like, that's why you need anyone smart will oppose all of this stuff, because you, even if the government funded news is in favor of your position, say tomorrow it might not be. And so the only, fair or safe position is to oppose all of it. Bristol says, once the housing market crashes, the boomers realize they fucked up. Yeah, and frankly, that would be good for the rest of us. The media will talk about it like it's a crisis, like, or it might be a godsend if you're not a boomer, if you're not already a homeowner. Wise Guy says, everyone I know does not watch CBC. In fact, many don't even watch news or investigate anything. Elections come and go. They just pick one, kind of like Idiocracy movie. Yeah, again, tribalism, we all have our that's our guy, that's our team, and we often will try to shoehorn our beliefs to fit with the team when that should be the opposite. We should be picking our team based on our beliefs, but so many people pick their team and then they just take the beliefs of whatever that team has. Guys, I'm gonna pin it there. Some excellent comments. I was only gonna, I mean, fucking 1/2 hour after I was supposed to. We are trying to keep the show to an hour, so but yeah, I mean, without Nico here to pull me back, I kind of just got in the weeds and talking to you guys. Actually, I really like having these times when Nico takes off and can just take comments and sort of have a conversation with the audience. But I am 1/2 hour overboard, and I got to go make something to eat. I'm sorry. Excellent show, guys. Had a ton of audience engagement. It was a lot of fun. If you are just joining us and you're new, please consider becoming a member. That will help support the show, help us bring you this quality content. But even if you don't want to do that, at least stick around. Come back tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern. Throw some comments out there. This whole show was based entirely on audience engagement. That was the format Nico and I wanted to go from the beginning, not just two yahoos talking, but kind of a conversation with all of us. Bristol says, great show. Hopefully see you again, Bristol. You had some excellent comments there. Wise guy, thanks for saying, Rob. I like the longer show personally. Yeah, I do too. I liked it. I kind of feel like an hour and a half is a sweet spot. It's really about the algorithm. We're trying to tweak a lot of things here, and it does seem like the hour long length does boost us with the algorithm. If we could get it so that like we kind of get some momentum in the show, we probably would go back to a 2-hour format, because I like that as well. It allows you to kind of really dig into some of the topics and stuff. Great show. God bless you, says Mike. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. Amio says, I agree with Wise Guy. Today, Gen Z so lame they think TikTok and Instagram is news, but no way to open a book, said Future. Yeah, I mean, I got 16-year-old son, man. Kids don't read books at all. And I mean, I don't either. It's just we're kind of a bookless society, and I feel like we've really lost something, because there is something to be said for just that feel of a book. I don't think anything takes its place. I'm gonna end on that note, guys. Have a great night. The rest of your evening. Go Jays. I'm gonna go watch the Jays kick the shit out of the Yankees. And advance to the ALCS. And we will see you tomorrow night, same time as always, 8 Eastern. Peace.